everybody, Kimberly here. I just wanted to touch base with you. I haven't done a lot of channeling lately. I've been doing a lot of automatic writing and trying to put that up on YouTube for you guys because I wanted you guys to have something from Spirit, and it takes a bit for me to get videos up. Sometimes I'm not always available to do that. But this morning I've been visited by Chris Cornell, and he's here with me right now. And he just wanted to pull me into recording so he could offer you his thanks and appreciation for all of you guys who are, reading his words and listening to his channels. He says the comments have been really, really great. He says he thinks about you just as much as you think about him. Yeah, he says he's even grateful for the people that question it, especially the people that question it. Yeah, he says if you're able to question it, you're using your discernment. But there's two ways that this could go. It could trigger you into thinking that it's all bullshit. This can't happen at all. This is impossible. Like, there's no way. Or you could, he says you could take that jump into the stuff that you're not so sure about and really, take it in and feel it out and see if what is coming through really kind of touches you in a way that you feel comforted, or you feel, grateful in the fact that there's no ending, there's just continuation, and that he can come in. Yeah, he can come in at whatever time and work with anybody, because he can be that omnipresent being, that spirit guide that people can use in their life right now. He says he's constantly boots on the ground. He's saying that the round table uses that phrase quite frequently, boots on the ground, because he says there are certain individuals in this group of spirits that work with Kim that are constantly boots on the ground on that planet to act as spirit guides. And they come in as faces that you would recognize, being, he says Chris, he says Tony, he says Heath, because he says it's so unreal to him how present he can be with everybody that continues to remember him, everybody that continues to feel love for him. He says it's pretty amazing and very cool for him to be able to continue to be a presence in those people's lives. But he says in a more impactful way. The impact comes, though, when somebody is able to just fall into that trust that whatever medium he uses, it doesn't matter. It's still that person that would be able to feel his presence when they hear the medium channel him. He's saying he's been really busy working with mediums to share messages because he is still so involved in trying to be a presence to make an impact to the world that people are living in now. He says so they don't have to feel what he was feeling. He's trying to ease people's distress or sadness or depression, because how he was feeling in life, especially at the end, he's saying he wants to alleviate that for people. But when you're triggered, those feelings, those, darker feelings take over, because it's hard to believe that, somebody that you were a fan of when they were living, he's saying, would come to you as a spirit to guide you in out of, you know, the depths of whatever you're feeling and into some sort of lightness that could ultimately bring you the rest of the way if you fell into faith and trust with whatever medium or channel that he chooses to work with at that time. He says he doesn't work with only Kim, he's saying. He works with a lot of mediums. But the work that he does with the round table, because it is a group of spirits with familiar faces, that reach goes, you know, above and beyond just a singular channel that, you know, some medium would call him in to do. He's saying that, so I have these group sessions, monthly group sessions, these intuitive Q&As for people. And I guess I did feel him hanging around yesterday, and I guess he was eavesdropping last night because I was channeling Paul. And he said that there was something that he would like to reiterate for people that he felt was really, really important. He says because he, you know, continues to travel the world a lot, he has taken that opportunity to experience sacred places where people pilgrim. They have pilgrimage there for, you know, connecting with the divine, connecting with a higher power. You know, sacred energy places that, he's finding the words. He's saying that maybe would open people up to something more. So they go to these sacred sites on these planets to be able to connect with that more factor. He says, but what he felt was important last night, what we were talking about, he says what Kim was channeling from Paul, is that it's time for people to acknowledge that they themselves, as the human being that walks on this earth, they are sacred places. They are sacred spaces. He says you don't necessarily have to go to, you know, some temple or some sacred place, or, you know, Shasta or the pyramids, or he's saying he's showing me that red rock in Australia. He's showing me a trail through Spain. I can't. There's a lot of there's a place in the Rocky Mountains in BC that it has become very sacred. He's saying you don't necessarily have to pilgrimage to these places to find your divinity, to find your holiness. While these places, again, yeah, he's saying that Paul channeled like the South Pole. The South Pole is extremely sacred. The South Pole is very, very an energetic space where there are like a ton of portals, and there's a ton of like I see them as tornadoes. They're like just spinning vortexes of energies. There's a lot of them in the South Pole. It's relatively untouched there because it is so cold. So that's kind of like a safe place for people to go or for these things to happen. And if people decide to go and you know, they go with a mentality of openness and willing to check it out and be surprised, it would open you up. The areas of southern Argentina and southern Chile, extremely spiritual, extremely powerful places, and more south of that. But he says sometimes they're kind of hard to get to. So, but I mean, yeah, I lost my train. He says I'm feeding Kim so much information that she's losing track. So, okay, so he wants me to tell you, I had the experience of going to a place called Tumbler Ridge, BC, and I put YouTube videos up of that. And there is one specific hike that totally blew my mind, only because the ground there felt so sacred. It was more to do with the legacy, the Aboriginal legacy that has lived there. He's saying since the ice ages. Like, you know, I would step onto this hike, and he really wants me to share this. I would step into certain places of this hike, and the trees would start talking. And I heard children giggling, and I saw them running. I saw them running through the trees. The spirits there were very protective of their area. I was walking back. We were finishing the hike, and I think this hike was 3 to 4 hours long. It was a pretty intense hike. And, you know, an arrow came right past my face and you know, landed in a tree right by me. And I knew that there was this protective energy that, you know, you can walk through here, because obviously I'm watching you through a veil, but we would like you to respect it. And I was telling the group last night that, you know, this specific hike, really, it was an exchange, like it was an energy exchange. I found myself half in my body and half with Simon, and he's Andromedan, and he took that part of me back to Andromeda, because I needed to get some light language to be able to share with this part of the earth, because every step I walked was opening something there, and every step I walked, that part of the earth was opening something in me. But it's not necessarily some sort of site that people would call sacred. There are areas of this planet that are sacred but have not been found yet, and they need to be opened up by individuals like you or me, just by simply walking. Sacred sites of this planet, he's saying, are going to be opened up not by digging for them, but by the human opening them up. Just as much as he has boots on the ground to help people awaken, as people awaken, they need to put their boots on the ground to open up sacred spaces using their own sacredness, using their own sacred divinity. He's saying, do not disregard your sacredness. Do not disregard your divinity. He's saying you're not just a human being trying to get to somewhere to become awakened, to become divine, you know, all these things. You already are that. These sacred places that have been discovered have only been discovered because of the human being that's opening that up to them. So it's like, he's saying, it's like this relationship. The earth will open discoveries when the human being is discovered. And he says this is the battle, because the discovery of the human being isn't an easy job. He's saying that, okay, the deeper you dig into yourself, the more dirt you unearth. Sometimes we've got to sift through that dirt to find the little gold nuggets. He's showing me like somebody panning for gold. So finding the little gold nuggets and using those. It's not always easy, because these little gold nuggets are going to be, he's saying they're going to become more and more foreign, because this world isn't staying as it is. Just as much as the earth is evolving, people are evolving too. So what's coming up from them won't always be recognized, but it's sacred. He's saying everybody, he's saying, is opening up the earth through their divinity, through their sacredness, as a sacred site of this planet. He says there's over 7 billion sacred sites walking around on this planet right now, neglecting the fact that they can use that divinity, to use that light, to open up the earth, to reveal her secrets that she's been keeping for the right moment, to help this planet really go from 0 to 60, in like 2 seconds. I don't know the wording. He's using card references. So he's saying, when you walk the earth, one second. Sorry, Nika was doing guard dog and trying to record. When you walk the earth, you are walking the earth as a sacred site. Every single footprint you leave on the ground is a sacred footprint of energy that others who are walking on the same path as you will pick up. When you are able to acknowledge your divinity, those energetic footprints will be extremely powerful. If a person is constantly disregarding their divine nature, and he says, I was in the thick of it, he's saying, obviously I died for it. I was an addict. Like I was just sucked into this darkness. I'm just waiting for the truck to go by. Motorcycle. Yeah, he's saying he was in the thick of it. He disregarded his divine nature. He says he didn't even know what to believe. If he knew what to believe, he probably wouldn't have spun so, deeply into that addiction mess of crap that happened to him. But if people tend to continue to get stuck in that dark, the footprints that they're leaving behind leaves that energy for others, especially empathic, but we're all empathic. Every single human being is empathic. Some are more in touch with that than others, will soak that up and it will affect them too. He's like, he says there's tons of cycles going on this earth right now. Tons of cycles that need to be broken. Part of what he does is trying to end those cycles so people can feel a sense of freedom. One of these cycles is the cycles of addiction, the cycles of depression, the cycles of sadness. Because it's tough, he says it's a tough world. He's trying to break that so more of these energetic footprints aren't soaking into the ground as those darker aspects. He's saying he would like to break those cycles so people are free. So what touches the ground, what connects to the ground, what connects to Mother Earth is more of a recognized divinity that every single human being is. He says he says he takes this work not seriously, but it's very important to him. So he says back to the sites, he's like, there are over 7 billion sacred sites walking around on this planet right now that are unlocking more sacred sites on this planet as we speak. What will be more powerful in doing that is to recognize your divinity wherever you go. It doesn't mean you have to, walk around with your chest puffed out and be all ego about it. Because divinity is humbleness. Divinity is love. Divinity is just really subtle. It's it's not showing off anything. It's just realizing that I'm a facet of the one source. I'm walking around as the one source, as a spark of the one source, the divine creator. Just recognizing that and being humbled, and you're in co-creation with heaven, you're in co-creation with earth, you're in co-creation with all the other divine beings that surround you, recognizing that other people are divine, He says we need to do away with a lot of the judgments that are happening. There's a lot of anger on this planet. Things have to break apart to come back together in a way bigger way. The thing that helps that, he's saying, is to recognize the beauty in it, the divinity in it, the light in it. Walk around as light, he's saying. Take the steps knowing your light, that you're keys to unlocking like a brand new world. Dark is only the absence of light. It doesn't mean the light is gone. The light is never gone. It's just finding that light through the dark can be a little tough. You don't have to walk, the El Camino is what he's saying, that one through the countries. I think it's like mostly Spain, or you finish in Spain. He's like, you don't have to walk the El Camino to, gain insights or open up to insights in your life, and or that meditative practice when you walk the El Camino and you realize things, right? You don't need to do that. Yes, it's a very special path. The sacred sites on this planet are very, very special. He does not deny that. But they meet people halfway. He says, so you have people that go to these sacred sites and expect like these big bang moments, extraterrestrial experiences, just opening up and yeah. Okay, be careful what you wish for. Because there is this woman who went to this person who was some sort of awakened being, and she hugged everybody and made wishes come true. And then this woman said, well, I want to be awakened. And this guru was like, you sure you want to be awakened? And she's like, yeah, I want to be awakened, and well, give me a hug. And her awakening came so fast that like basically she almost died because her body could not handle that much energy. He says, so be careful what you wish for. But the expectation that is put on these divine places, these sacred sites have more of an impact if you meet them halfway. He's saying, so if you travel and you meet these sacred sites halfway, there will be more of an impact. If you let go of the expectation, travel to these places as a sacred site yourself, it's creating the perfect storm, the perfect, fire. He's showing me Moses in the burning bush. He's like, it's creating this solid sort of connection that is the perfect environment to create those vortexes. So you're adding something more to the sacred site that's already very powerful, and this sacred site is opening you up to more, and it will just expedite anything that you're wanting to happen spiritually. He's saying anything that's recognized as sacred begins a cooperation that does not end. It's not cyclical, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So he says he thought that the conversation yesterday that Paul had started was really, really important. He saw some head scratches. The head scratches are just coming from the fact that it's just, how could we just walk around as sacred divine beings and making, the average, you're going out shopping or something, the average place sacred? And Paul was like, well, because you're there. It's because you're walking there. It's because you're making it sacred. You're the sacred piece that place is missing. So he's saying, walk around as the love that you are. Walk around as the light that you are. Acknowledge your divinity so you can help this planet evolve. You can help the earth open more and more and more of its sacredness, its divinity. It's always divine. It's just that sometimes we as human beings are hidden from that. That's hidden from us because we question it. We don't know how to take it. It triggers us. How can that magic happen? Like, that's not possible. Because he says nothing is possible if you're going to keep yourself locked away in a box. nothing will become possible. But if you open the door to that box, everything becomes possible. He says, Kim was on vacation. She didn't believe that she was going to go hiking and be in, he says, this heavy cooperation with Earth and these ancient beings that live there and the animal spirits and the nature spirits. She didn't think that she was going to go for a hike and be open to that and help them open and help them be realized. But it happened. Okay, he's saying what can happen though is that after like this major cooperation in this way, it can be heavy. And one of the videos that I titled was that Kim spinning, because I was spinning. I didn't have, usually I have the round table, like I can sense them, but when I was on vacation I was like, no, I need time alone. I didn't really have that. The only person that I had was Simon, because he knew I was going and he knew that I would need support with trying to let this all, like, you know, settle within me and awaken me. And you know, I was walking these trails and I was telling the group last night that I would all of a sudden just like light language would just be spilling out of my mouth, and I couldn't help it, and I wanted to cover my mouth, but it would still fall out, like it would. But when after that certain hike, you know, Gaia said, I need that. I need your light codes in these specific areas, and that's why I would just like spontaneous channel these light codes. He says, yeah, he says it was a really magical experience. It was a really potent experience. He says he didn't know that was going to happen. If he did know, his boots would have been on that ground just to be able to, you know, support me in that. But sometimes, you know, he says Kim has to do these things alone and be in cooperation with Earth and Simon only, because he says there is such a thing as too many cooks in the kitchen. And he says Bourdain always says that too. It's like if there's too many cooks in some sort of kitchen when they're trying to build something, or, you know, it's just best for some of these cooks to stand aside, maybe do a little bit of prep work and help support instead of actually being involved. Because he says there's a bigger impact sometimes with less people involved than there is with too many, and it just gets spread too thinly. So yeah, so he says that's it from him. He said he just wants to step. He just wanted to step in this morning to, again, like thank all of you for listening to his words, reading his words. He says I'll keep coming back. He says and I can't speak for the other members of the table, but I have made a commitment to work with something that I really have a passion for. So I will continue to channel through Kim when she's able and when I have a message to give. He says the messages that are given aren't given lightly. He says Kim could channel all the time. He says, but there's more of an impact when there's really something to be said. So he says, as the group, and him especially, he tends to save things when he feels like it really needs to be expressed. And he will keep doing it that way. Yeah, he said that Paul was really on a soapbox last night, and there were things that he saw, and he really needed to get off his chest, and he was kind of eavesdropping in, because, he kind of, like the group was kind of eavesdropping, because he said they were all at the loft, and Paul went to the side and did the group session, but they met at the loft last night, and the loft is a place where they get together to, like, you know, play music or just hang out, and it was a loft night last night. But he said Paul was pretty, and then they were all laughing at him because he was on a soapbox about some things. So, but he thought that the sacredness, the sacred sites, and the human being, like the human being, the person being a sacred site themselves, and actually recognizing that. He said he wanted to come in this morning and really touch on that for you guys. So he says he's going to let me go. He gives you guys one more thanks. And yeah, it was good last night. I really enjoy them. Last night I have to admit that I was kind of nervous because I felt like I hadn't done it forever, but the visit to Tumbler Ridge was really, it felt like I was actually gone for a month and a half. Like, time was very different there. So, but I was very grateful for the experience. I'm still letting some things settle. There's some stuff that's I want to go back to do, and so I'm going to work. I have some projects that I want to work on now. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in the free Q&A sessions, the information will be down below. And on behalf of Chris, he's still here, and myself, I'm wishing you guys all the best. We send you so much love. We're just hugging you all the time. And yeah, until next time, take care and be safe. And I love you, I love you, I love you. And we'll chat soon. Ciao for now. Bye.